Hello. Thank you for this opportunity to discuss the most important subject. On this 10th anniversary of the United Nations Commission of Inquiry on North Korean human rights, we must remember that the Korean people in the North still suffer horrendous human rights abuses. The situation in the North demands that we, as freedom-loving people around the world, continue to support the efforts of the United Nations and all member states to implement the recommendations and seek an end to the human rights abuses and crimes against humanity. There is a unique relationship among denuclearization, human rights, and unification. The only way to achieve denuclearization and end the human rights abuses is by achieving unification, which is a new Korea determined by the Korean people to establish a united Republic of Korea, UROK or UROK. Perhaps counterintuitively, it is the focus on human rights that must lead to human unification. And only when unification is achieved can there be denuclearization. And the connective tissue among the three is information. Human rights are a moral imperative. However, they are also a national security issue because Kim Jong-un must deny the people's human rights in order to remain in power. We often ask, who does Kim Jong-un fear the most? The ROK and US military, or the Korean people in the North? And the answer is the people, especially when they are armed with information and knowledge of their universal human rights. Kim Jong-un thus creates the perception of external threats in order to justify the suffering, sacrifice, and the oppression of the Korean people. And this is what we are seeing today. Kim Jong-un has called South Korea the main enemy. He has said he will no longer seek peaceful unification, and he has even dismantled the Arch of Unification, calling it an eyesore. These statements and actions, combined with the development of advanced military capabilities to include nuclear weapons and missiles, is making the pundits and press speculate that war is possible in the near future. Now, the Korean people have demonstrated a level of resilience in the face of hardship outsiders can hardly imagine, from humanitarian disasters to starvation because of systemic and deliberate policy decisions of the regime to crimes against humanity that the UN Commission of Inquiry assesses has not been seen at such a level since the Nazi rule in the last century. Yet escapees are often asked why they do not resist such tyranny. They explain that because of the massive indoctrination effort by the regime for more than 70 years, combined with a system of social control that is worse than any caste system ever devised, along with little to no knowledge of the outside world, the Korean people simply do not know what to do. They are living in Plato's cave, and all they see are the shadows the propaganda and agitation department projects for them. They have no frame of reference for resistance, and all their effort goes into survival. This is the paradox. The Korean people in the North are among the most resilient people in history, yet they also have the least resistance capability in the modern world. And this is at once the fundamental problem and offers insight into what might contribute to changing the lives of the Korean people in the North and the security situation on the Korean Peninsula and in Northeast Asia. We appear to be at a very tense point in Korea today. Kim Jong-un is executing a political warfare and blackmail diplomacy strategy to subvert, undermine, and weaken the ROK, drive a wedge in the alliance, and coerce political and economic concessions from South Korea, from the US, and from the international community. In 2024, he has showed us his true hand, that he considers the North a nuclear state and is prepared to use nuclear weapons to achieve the 7 decades old goal of his father and grandfather. And that is to complete the revolution, rid the peninsula of foreign forces, and dominate all of Korea under the rule of the guerrilla dynasty and gulag state. And now, following Kim's support for Putin's war in Ukraine, there should be no doubt that there is an axis of totalitarians who seek to do harm to the international community while continuing to oppress their people. We must realize that Kim Jong-un will do in the South what the Kim family regime has done to the North to remain in power. He will deny the human rights of all Koreans. And if Kim were to be successful, the Korean people in the South would suffer an unbearable fate. We must help the Korean people in the North. The UN Commission of Inquiry has showed us what is happening. It is up to us to implement its recommendations so all people can enjoy the universal human rights we too often take for granted. Thank you.